Where the whole world and nature's mine, there will be a present far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. Praise the Lord, somebody. He is faithful. He is true. Among the gods, he is the God of all gods. Among the spirits, he is the holy and the principal spirit. If he's been so good to you, put your hands together and give God praise. Give him thanks for his worthy. You know what? If your loved ones left home and came back safely, you owe God thanks. Say thank you. If your kids, you left them at the nursery or they went about their business, came home safely, you owe God thanks. Say thank you. Even the very air you breathe, one day you breathe your last breath. One day you breathe your last breath. So you owe God praise. You sat in your car, went through the traffic, came back safely. You owe God praise. You owe God thanks. He is so faithful. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my love, my all. That's what the songwriter said in the hymn, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. Put your hands together and give God praise. He is worthy to be praised. It's Shabbat. We are still in the season of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, Hak Sameach to my Jewish brothers and sisters. Today, we're going to continue the series we started. We've looked at Moses. We've looked at Joseph. Today, we'll be looking at Jacob. And welcome to all the streamers from the YouTube and then Instagram. God bless you for coming. Shabbat Shalom is Shabbat evening. So we are gathered here again. My title for today is still on the series, When God Disrupt Your Plans. When God Disrupt Your Plans. And we'll be looking at Jacob as a case study. And you see, when God interrupts or something interrupts you, you can always go and do that thing and come back. But when it is disrupted, it is never the same again. You will never be able to continue from where you left off. So is your life, and so are the characters we have seen in the Bible so far. So today we'll be looking at the point where God also disrupted the plans. Everybody have a moment, times and seasons in your life that when God disrupted, you can never go back to who you really were before the disruption came. So as you sit at the front row seat in your home, pick your Bibles. It can be your electronic paper Bible, would get some drink, and let's go through the character. And I promise you, I'm going to be less than an hour so that we can continue from where we left off. Welcome, everybody. God bless you for coming. So, turn your Bible to the book of Genesis. We are still in Genesis. Genesis tells the story of creation, it tells the story about the progenitors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, how he revealed himself to them and how the covenant he had with them came to pass. So we are still in the book of Genesis, and we'll be looking at Genesis is the first book of the Torah. Torah is the first 5 books penned down by Moses. So we are in the very first one that gives an account of the creation and how the 12 tribes of Israel came about. So today we're looking at the old man himself, Jacob, and I'm looking at it from the CJB version. You can follow me from every other version you have that you're comfortable with. So we'll be looking at Genesis 25, verse 19. We're going to be introduced to the family of Jacob so that we'll be able to follow along. So, as usual, it's going to be selected verses. And this is also quite an epic, like we had for Joseph. So, we're starting from the verse 19 of Genesis 25. It says, here is the history of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac. If you're reading from the CJV, you're going to hear the actual Hebrew name, the Hebraic name for these characters. So Isaac is Isaac, Abraham's is Abraham. So verse 20, Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rivkah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramite from Padaram, and sister of Laban, the Aramite, to be his wife. All these names are very important because we're going to meet them. They all play a role. Like I said, God is a script writer. All of us here are playing a role, a script, a character in a movie called this world. So let's continue. Verse 21. Isaac prayed to Adonai on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Adonai heeded his prayer and Rivkah became pregnant. So let me park here. They were married. He was married at age 40. There was no baby till 60 because his wife she married was finding difficult to conceive. So the husband prayed because he is the covenant holder. He prayed and God opened the womb of Rivkah. Rivkah is the same as Rebecca. So we're going to see how it unfolds so that if your parents are still alive, you can ask them stories about what happened during their pregnancy. That would give you a clue of what you're going through. Okay. Isaac prayed to Adonai on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Adonai heeded his prayer and Rivkah became pregnant. The children fought with each other inside her so much that she said, if it's going to be like this, why go on living? So she went to inquire of Adonai. This for the women that have been pregnant before and for the husbands that supported. This is not just a baby kicking in the womb. These are 2 kids in the womb fighting. And they fought in the womb and fought when they were born and fought during their earthly lifetime. So these kids were fighting. The fighting began way back. So let's see. The woman was no longer finding it comfortable anymore. She thought it's better to die than to ask for a child that the children are fighting in her womb. and it's creating discomfort. So she went to do inquiry to find out what's going on, because what is going on is in her womb, she can't explain. So she went to inquire of Adonai, who answered her, "There are two nations in your womb. From birth, there will be two rival people. One of these peoples will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger." Now, this is a family dynamic. She's got one side of the story on how these kids are going to be rival from the womb, rival on earth. Throughout their lives, their lifetime, they were rivals, right? And the parents also didn't help that much. So you see, sometimes you'll be having some struggles with your siblings and stuff. It's already been orchestrated before you showed up in your parents' room, or before you showed up in the family you came in. Maybe your parents did not make an inquiry when there were issues. In our time, we go to the hospitals for uh, um, answers when we don't understand things related to the human anatomy. But this one, they went to inquire of Adonai because they believe answers would come. It will give them an insight on how to address certain issues as they come along. So, verse 24, when the time for delivery came, there were twins in her womb. The first to come out was reddish and covered all over with hair, like a coat. So they named him Esau, completely formed, that is, having hair already. This is a baby that came all hair, everything. It's not that he's now coming to grow hair. The baby didn't come God. He came full package, already hairy, everywhere, from top to bottom. Okay. So then listen carefully. Then his brother emerged with his hands holding Esau's heel. So he was called Yaakov, meaning the catches, he catches by the heel. He supplants. Isaac was 60-year old when she was born. You that are late in starting a family, this is not something new. This is something way back. Delay in pregnancy, delay in fruitfulness, 20 years. So how many years have you been waiting? Or how many years did you wait after the first one came? A lot of issues. Life is spiritual. A lot of issues happen before it manifests itself physically, right? So even during the time of delivery, the battle was still on. One was holding the heel of the other. It's just like the battle for who is the oldest. We were twins, but the younger one said, I'll be the oldest." So whatever drama that was happening during the pregnancy has already been orchestrated by God. The woman didn't understand. So he has to go and ask and make inquiry. These days, we have too many things going on that the inquiries itself, when you go and make inquiries, you don't even know what to do with the inquiries. Verse 27, the boys grew, and Esau became skillful hunter and an outdoor man, while Yaakov was a quiet man who stayed in the tent. Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste for game. Rivka favored Yaakov because he's a tent man. Do you see? The parents have already picked their favorite. The man liked the venison that will be coming from the hunter. The woman also liked the one that looks more like her, and maybe probably because she made an inquiry and she was told that the younger is going to be the dominant one. The older is going to serve the younger, and the younger is going to be a great nation. There is no point, if you understand these things, to envy anybody. Stay in your lane. We all have different roles to play. Your younger ones can prosper more and better than you, but you also have a role to play. That should not be a premise for you to, entangle yourself in all sorts of broils and all sorts of, unholy entanglement, and trying to sort of outdo everybody spiritually to show who the elders is, right? So verse 29 says, one day when Yaakov has cooked some stew, this is the stuff is gonna we're gonna listen to what actually happened in this particular block because I skipped some, like I said, selected verses. So it says, verse 29, so on chapter 25, one day when Yaakov has cooked some stew, Esau came in from the open country exhausted and said to Yaakov, let me gulp down some of that red stuff. That red stuff. I'm exhausted. This is why he was called Edom, meaning red. Yaakov answered, first sell me your right as the firstborn. You see, they started it from the womb. Jacob held the heel of his big brother um, um, Esau. I think the idea was so that he can manipulate and become the firstborn, but God has already orchestrated that he's going to be the secondborn. And he's still fighting, even when they were still older. Because the Bible has says, or during the inquiry, it was said that these people are going to be rival in life. So the game has started. Let's watch closely how this epic would end. So it says, first sell me your rights as the firstborn. Verse 32. Look, I'm about to die, said Esau. What use to me are my rights as the firstborn? Jacob said, first swear to me. So he swore to him, thus selling his birthright to Jacob. Be careful what you say or what you transact. When you are hungry and starving to the point of death, or you are in a situation, be careful. Right. So now the rivalry has started. Then Yaakov gave him bread and lentils too. He ate and drank, got up, and went on his way. Thus Esau showed how little he valued his birthright. Something has been already orchestrated in the spirit. You probably will say that is his brother. Why wouldn't he even just give him the food and so that he can eat and get strength? After all, they are twins, but something is brewing. That means all his lifetime, Jacob's lifetime, he has envied the position of being the firstborn, the first among everything. It's already pre-programmed. Your life is pre-programmed. Certain things that are happening to you, go and ask your mother what happened during her pregnancy, the food she ate, her mannerisms, her throwing up. Also, it is coded. Everything is coded in the pregnancy. If you want to know why your life is the way it is now, why things are moving very quickly, very fast, prospering, or why things are not uh, going the way it should, is all during the pregnancy manifested. So everything you went through during your pregnancy, some are very easy. There are times that you may have some affinity for certain food and it's different from all your children. They are coded. They are coded. So let's jump to verse chapter 26. Now a famine came in the land, and their father Isaac moved to Abimelech in Egypt so that he can have food for them. God visited him, and hear what God said to him. He said to their father, stay in this land. That is in verse 3 of chapter 26. And I will be with you and bless you, because I will give all these lands to you and to your descendants. I will fulfill the oath which I swore to Abraham, your father. I will make your descendant as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give all these land to you by your descendants, and by your descendants all the nations of the earth will be blessed. All the nations of the earth will bless themselves. All this is because Abraham heeded what I said and did what I told him to do. He followed my mitzvot. Mitzvot is commandments, my regulations, and my teachings. So you see, I don't know what your fathers did, your grandfathers did. The wealth you came into has a history. If it was serviced by your grandfather, serviced by your father, and you refuse to service it, there are consequences. Because the blessings that was coming to Abraham, Isaac, was because of the covenant God entered into with his father Abraham, and it's going to be passed along from generation to generation. So if you came into work, you better start asking questions. If you were born with silver spoon in your mouth, there are issues you got to know, because at some point you would have to service that covenant. And God said he was doing it because Abraham heeded to his commandments, his regulations and teachings, and all the ordinances of the altar. If your parents are not alive, I don't know what to tell you. You gotta believe in God. You gotta believe in God and do the ordinances of the altars. Give charity as much as you can, because that covers for your ignorance, the things you do not know. The things you do not know, it covers you for that. So be vigilant, be alert. There are a lot of unanswered questions in your life that probably you don't know where to start, how to decode it, but there may be somebody who can help you. The Holy Spirit is there who can help you as well. So we go on to the chapter Genesis 27, verse 1. In the course of time, after Isaac had grown old and his eyes dimmed so that he couldn't see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." Look, I'm old now. I don't know when I will die. Therefore, please take your hunting gear, your quiver of arrows, and your bow. Go out in the country and get me some game. Make it tasty, the way I like it, and bring it to me to eat. Then I will bless you as firstborn before I die. Mind you, there's going to be a whole drama here, right? There's a giving of the blessing to the firstborn. And remember, Esau has already traded it. Mother is aware that the second is going to be greater than the older. So they are trying to help God. But let's see how all this thing play out. The fact that there is prophecy on your head or some stuff has been said, that doesn't mean that life is going to be parallel for you every time. Everything is going to be smooth. There are times that you'll be going through a lot of issues, and there are times God will remove the detractors from you so that He can have your own divided attention and teach you what they need to teach you, either by experience or by you making mistakes and sitting in your failure and learning. And that is how you evolve to become what God wanted you to become. Right. So let's hear what happened then. Somebody was by the door eavesdropping. Rivka was listening when Isaac spoke to his son, Esau. So when Esau went out to the country to hunt for game and bring it back, she said to her son, Yaakov, "Listen, I heard your father telling Esau, your brother, bring me game and make it tasty so I can eat. Then I will give you my blessing in the presence of Adonai before my death. Now pay attention to me, my son, and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me back 2 choice kids. Let me pause here. I thought we all have taste. We know what goat meat tastes like. We know how cow meat tastes like, and how a bush meat or a venison would taste like. So I wonder how, even though father's eyes was dimmed, I don't know whether the taste went with it, but he was not able to detect the taste of a kid and the taste of venison. That blows my mind. So I don't know. I think God has God has always been, the master planner. But I'm talking about the taste bud. At least you should be able to tell what type of meat. If it's pig, you will know. If it's a pork, if it's pork, you would know. Right. So he said, go to the flock and bring me back 2 choice kids. I will make it tasty for your father the way he likes it, and you will bring it to your father to eat, so that he will give his blessings to you before his death. Yaakov answered Rivkah his mother, look, Esau is hairy, but I have a smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me. He will know I'm trying to trick him, and I'll bring a curse upon myself, not a blessing. But his mother said, let your curse be on me. Just listen to me and go get me the kids. This is where I want to pause briefly. Our parents, our mothers, and our fathers, anytime they are making a pledge, a vow, or entering into a covenant, knowingly or unknowingly, you, the children, are implicated. You are not exempted. Let the curse come upon me, will run through generations unborn. So when you are transacting something spiritual, consciously or unconsciously, be careful, because you are then putting all your generations unborn into bondage. They wouldn't know where it is coming from, and they will fight all their lives without becoming what they are meant to become, and they will die in their old age accomplishing nothing, just because parents have dabbled into things they are not supposed to, because they were looking for solution, and they have implicated their unborn children, and their lives have become complicated, and they don't know where these issues are coming from. It is real. Life is spiritual. It does happen in the physical, spiritual before it manifests. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes years and not immediate. And sometimes it happens when the father or the mother has passed. That is when the consequences will be happening, because there's nobody that is servicing that covenant. All right, so verse 18, he went to his father and said, my father, he replied, here I am. Who are you, my son? Yaakov said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done what you asked me to do. Get up now, sit down, eat the game, and then give me your blessing. Isaac said to his son, how did you find it so quickly? He answered, Adonai your God made it happen that way. Isaac said to Yaakov, come here, close to me, so I can touch you, my son, and know whether you are in fact my son, Esau, or not. This is what he feared, and the mother covered it, because he was fearing that his father is going to detect. And the father was able to use the voice to know it is not him, but every other thing points to the fact that it is Esau, right? He's already traded his birthright. So now he's going to collect the firstborn as well. Trick or no trick is already be orchestrated. You're going to act the part God has given you in your family line. If you are the one to cause trouble, right? If you don't cause that trouble and then you die, God is going to ask you why you didn't do that. Because you're supposed to make somebody run to God for help. You're supposed to make somebody get so frustrated to the point that he will learn how to pray, right? You're supposed to make somebody so uncomfortable that the person will leave home. So even if you don't do it, at the end of the day, when your life is over and you're being reviewed, it would show up that I ask you to go be the second born or the third born and cause this kind of problem in this family and you didn't do it. Explain. Okay, so that was my version of what I was trying to say. Um, 21. No, we're on 22 now. Yaakov approached Isaac, his father, who touched him and said, the voice is Yaakov's voice, but the hands are Esau's hands. How can you feel? It means that Esau is very, very, very hairy. Because if we can't tell a difference between a human hairiness and that of a kid, a goat, that means that the guy was really very, very hairy. And it said, however, he did not detect him, right? Because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he gave him his blessing. He asked, are you really my son Esau? And he replied, I am. He said, bring it here to me, and I will eat my son's gain, so that I can give you my blessings. So he brought it to him. He ate, and he also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come close and kiss me, my son. He approached and kissed him. Isaac smelled, he still wasn't sure. That blows my mind that he couldn't, the taste of the venison is not the same. He couldn't tell the difference between a goat meat and a venison. And he still wasn't convinced. He smelled him and be, let's see what the wife did. I don't want to spoil the process. Right. So let me repeat from verse 25. He said, bring here to me, and I will eat my son's game so that I can give my blessing. So he brought it up to him, and he ate, and he also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come close and kiss me. He approached and kissed him. Isaac smelled his clothes and blessed Yaakov with these words. This man is not a farmer, he's not a tiller of the ground. And the blessing looks some way. Listen to the blessing. So may God give you see, my son smells like a field which Adonai has blessed. Obviously, a goat or a kid will smell like a field. So he's saying that, see, my son smell, because he was still not convinced. He think the voice is the second son, Yaakov, but he's smelling the smell of a goat. And he went ahead and said, see, my son smells like a field which Adonai has blessed. So may God give you dew from heaven, the richness of the earth, and grain and wine in abundance. May people serve you and nation bow down to you. May you be Lord over your kinsmen. Let your mother's descendants bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who cursed you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. But as soon as Isaac has finished giving his blessings to Jacob, when Yaakov had barely left his father's presence, Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. I should think that if you probably meet him when you were coming out or going out when you met him. They probably may have met in the corridor somewhere or just around. Would there be any suspicion? Would anybody suspect something, or everybody was just going, doing their own thing? So there was no suspicion as we have in our generation today. Nobody suspected any foul play. So when Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud beat. That is, when he got to know that his blessings has been taken and there was no blessing left, he was so bitter. He started crying uncontrollably. His father was trembling because he realized that something has gone amiss. So this was the reaction when he got to know. That is from the verse 34. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud, bitter sobbing. Father, bless me too, he begged. He replied, your brother came deceitfully and took away your blessing. Esau said, his name, Yaakov, he supplants, really suits him because he had supplanted me these two times. He took a, he took away my birthright, and here now he has taken away my blessing. You tell me. I believe birthright, being the firstborn, the blessing goes with it. So if you've sold your birthright, what else is remaining? You want to take the blessing when you have already sold your birthright, right? Okay. Then he asked, haven't you saved a blessing for me? Esau hated his brother because of the blessings his father had given him. Esau said to himself, the time for mourning my father will soon come. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her older son, but the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rivkah. She sent for Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, here, your brother Esau is comforting himself over you by planning to kill you. Therefore, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to Lavan. In other translation, it's called Laban. So get up and escape to Lavan, my brother in Haran. Stay with him a little while until your brother's anger subsides. He says, stay with him a little while. This one was not 1 year or 2 years. By the time Jacob returned, it was 20 years. 20 years. So when you go for inquiries and stuff, and they tell you something is going to happen and it doesn't happen immediately, that reckoning of time in the spirit realm and the reckoning of time in the physical realm is totally different. A while could mean years, and you may even forget, right? So stay with him a little while until your brother's anger subsides. Your brother's anger will turn away from you, and he will forget what you did to him. Then I will send and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you on the same day? Now, so this is where the disruption is going to take place. All the drama, fathers favoring a son, mother favoring a son, selling of birthright, and Rivka saying that let curse be upon me, even if your father curses you, and all that. Now, this is the disruption. This is totally God's plan. Every other person was trying to help, but God has to take them off the scene. The boy with all the promises and all the blessing must go through his own patch of difficulties, must go through seasons where he would encounter God by himself. God has to reintroduce himself to him, right? Whilst he was running away. So I don't know what gods you were introduced to, but at some point in your life, there will be a disruption. You will come face to face and you will decide, should I continue with my father's God or should I seek alternative? Especially when you are in difficulties. So I don't know where you are. Sometimes you doubt, is there really a God? This is not a God my parents prayed to. You will get to that point at some point in the season of your life, deciding, should I pursue my father's God, my mother's God, or should I go for alternative? Should I do things differently? And when you come out of it, you come out refined, evolved, different from who you were. Because at this point, he was in his parents' house, everything was being manipulated on his behalf. He was also manipulating things by himself to get birthright. Right? So Genesis 28, chapter 28 says, so Isaac called Yaakov, and after blessing him, charged him, you are not to choose a wife from Hittite, from the Hittite women. They are giving him a charge because you can't carry this blessing and live anyhow and marry just anybody because the big brother has already messed up. It says, go now to the home of Bethuel, your mother's father, and choose a wife there from the daughters of Lavan, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai, the double-breasted God, that is what it means, bless you, make you fruitful, increase your descendants until they become a whole assembly of people. And may he give you the blessing which he gave Abraham, you and your descendants with you, so that you will possess the land you will travel through, the land God gave to Abraham. So that means that the journey to Bethel, he's going to travel through a promised land to Abraham, his grandfather. So the covenant blessing is being re-echoed, rehashed, so that wherever you are, you would remember the ordinances, the regulations, the teachings of the covenant, the ordinances of the altar to follow. So Isaac sent Yaakov away, and he went to Padan Aram to Lavan, son of Bethuel, the Aramite, the brother of Rivkah, Yaakov and Esau's mother. So Yaakov went out from Beersheba and traveled through Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed the night there because the sun had set. He took a stone from the place, put it under his head, and lay down there to sleep. He dreamt. Everybody's dreaming. I don't know what to do with your dream, but there are some dreams you don't joke with. Every dream carries information, evil and good. They are all embedded. What you do with it is what would show who you serve. He dreamt that there before him was a ladder resting on the ground with its top reaching to heaven, and the angel of Adonai were going up and down on it. Then suddenly, Adonai was standing there next to him, and he said, listen carefully, the God of his father is about to introduce himself to him. I am Adonai, the God of Abraham, your grandfather, the God of Isaac. The land on which you are lying, I will give to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the grains of the dust on the earth. You will expand to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. By you and your descendants, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Look, I am with you. I will guard you wherever you go, and I will bring you back into this land because I won't leave you until I have done what I have promised you. So, this is transgenerational blessing, transgenerational teachings, transgenerational. God is reintroduced. So, this is his own personal encounter with God, different from what God had with Abraham, different from what God had. There are times, seasons in your life that you have to encounter God by yourself. That strengthens you. It is not what your father have said or your mother have said or your pastor said or your prophet said, but your encounter, so that you believe that there is a God in heaven who controls the affairs of man. right? So for every generational leader, every generational pace setter, God reintroduces himself to you depending on the covenant. This was a dream. Guess what he did when he got up? It says in verse 16, Yaakov awoke from his sleep and said, truly, Adonai is in this place, and I don't know it. Then he became afraid and said, this place is fearsome. This has to be the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Yaakov got up early in the morning, took the stone he had put his head on, set it up as a standing stone, poured olive oil on top of it, and named the place Bethel, house of God. But the town has originally been called Luz. Then listen, he also, he's a chief master negotiator. Now he's going to make a vow that will implicate generation of born even up until today, right? He said, Yaakov took this vow. If God will be with me and will guard me on this road that I am traveling, giving me bread to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return to my father's house in peace. Then Adonai will be my God, and this stone which I have set up as a standing stone will be God's house. And of everything you give me, I will faithfully return 1/10 to you. Tithing. He has roped all his generation on board into the Titan system. Did God look after him? Did God guide him? Yes, he did. Was he prosperous where he went in his uncle's house? Yes, he was. Did he fulfill his promise to God? Yes, he did. What about you? Did you make a vow to God and you forgot to redeem? Did God do something for you and in the moment of plenty you forgot who gave you? Because he is saying that if this dream that I had and this spirit that spoke to me, that introduced himself as God of Abraham, Isaac, if he will protect me and guide me, usher me and make me prosperous, give me food and shelter over my head, then he will be my God when I come back. I'll give 1/10 of everything. I'll give it to him. I don't know the kind of promises that you make with God. But this is somebody who is entering into a place of the unknown. He knows about altars. God has been faithful to you in places, in seasons, in situations. You never remember to build any altar. There is nothing that you hold that becomes a monument of remembrance to let you know what God did for you in this particular place, how he saved you from accident. Many travel and don't return. Many travel and then we hear that they're in the hospital. Many will tell their family, I'm going to this short distance, and things happen. You take the protection of God for granted. You take the arm of God that preserve hover over you, give you food to eat for granted. But this young man knows that the future is not promised, it's not guaranteed. So if you can have this dream, and this dream held so true, then whatever spirit it is, he's making, he's just cutting deals with that spirit. That if the spirit will protect him and bring him back, provide food for him, shelter for him, then he's going to be his God. And in chapter 29 says, continuing his journey, Yaakov came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in a field, and there were 3 flocks of sheep lying there next to it, because they watered the sheep from that well. The stone on the well's mouth was large, and only when all the flocks had gathered there would they roll the stone away from the opening of the well and water the sheep. So Yaakov said to them, my brothers, where are you from? They answered, we are from Haran. He asked them, "Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor?" They said, "We do." He asked them, "Are things going well with him?" "Yes," they answered. And and here comes his daughters, Ra- Rachel, with the sheep. He said, "Look, there's still plenty of daylight left, and isn't time to bring the animals so home. So water the sheep, then go and put them out to the pasture." So let me skip to verse 9. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, and because she took care of them. So Rachel was a shepherd. She was busy. Young ladies, keep busy, and your appointed time will come. Whoever God has purposed for you would meet you where it's been orchestrated in the spirit realm. When Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Yaakov went up and rolled the stone away from the opening of the well and watered the flocks of Laban, his mother's brother. Yaakov kissed Rachel and wept aloud. Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's relative and that he was Rivka's son. And she ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news of Yaakov, his sister's son, he ran to meet him, hugged him, kissed him, brought him home. So this is the story of God disrupting his life. This is not for a short while, like the mother thought. This is going to be a journey of 20 years. He was going to serve for 7 years to marry a wife, and he didn't know that in the culture he was, the younger doesn't marry before the older. And he was strict, just like he was tricking everybody else. So he has to serve 7 more years for the younger, which he truly loved, which is Rachel. And then he wept there for additional 7 years before he had a dream again to move back. So that was in total 20 years. So it's not for a short while. And when he returned, God actually prospered him. And he even became bigger than Laban. And when he was going back, he went to reconcile with the older brother and asked for his forgiveness so that he can also have a share or a place in his father's house because he was coming back. 20 years is a long time for somebody to let go of their anger. So he also became a great people. He prospered. This is a life that is disrupted by God. He came back a married man. He came back with a whole trough. He came back not even just marrying two women, but he came back married to four women because all the married women gave their um, handmaidens, their servants for him to wife so they can reproduce because it became a competition between two sisters. I do not know what you're going through. A lot of things have happened to you. If there's nobody to talk to God. Peradventure, God will show you mercy and show you a dream that would unravel age-old secret that you can free yourself. And if things are going on well with you, do not forget the ordinances of God, the teachings of God, the ordinances of the altar, giving alms and charity, just so giving a tenth of what you have. You can give 20 if you are prosperous and prosperous and prosperous beyond measure, 20%. Just so that your life will be a well oiled machinery. It is not over until God says it's over. It is God that calls the games off until the day you breathe your last breath. He is greater and bigger than every troubles and everything that is weighing you down. God is bigger than whatever challenges that you are facing. He did this for you. He did this for generations unborn. The battles that you are battling, when you overcome those battles, what is going to happen is that your children wouldn't have to fight those battles anymore. Your children will be free. It will be a different kind of battles. God will allow them to encounter so that he can strengthen their hand. So on this day that we are looking at this young man, how God disrupted, so was your life also disrupted. And I pray that Lord will strengthen your hand, wipe your tears, give you dreams that will advance you. Till then, it's Shabbat Shalom. Before we leave, let me say the ironic blessing on you so that the Spirit of the Lord will continue to guide you until we convey here again. So the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his covenant, his countenance upon you and give you his peace in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. When I survey the wondrous cross on which the King of glory